Hello again. This is Mark Summers from Summers Technical Services. We're going to move on to part 2 of our first AutoCAD part drawing, and we're going to put some dimensions on our drawing views we made last time and fill out the title block and revision history and notes on the drawing, and make sure our notes for materials and finish are on the drawing, and that'll pretty much get us to the finish line for our first part drawing. So let's get started. Okay, so here's where we left off last time with the 3 orthogonal views. And so the first thing I want to do is move over to the new tab here, Annotation tab, which includes text, balloons, tables, and dimensions. And so I can use this pull down here and choose specific dimensions I want. But this, I call this a smart dimension button, and it'll pretty much figure out what kind of dimension I want and place the one. And it usually guesses correct. So I'll use that button. And so I'm going to start putting these dimensions on here per the sketch I got. And the first thing I can see is I've already forgotten about my layers. And so I need to change my layer to dim. Now dim is the current layer. Now I could delete this and replace it, or I can just select it, right click, properties. And you can, all of these features all have tons and tons of different properties, and most of these things you don't want to change because they're driven by things like the layers and the dimension styles. But at the top here I can change the layer from hidden to dim, and now it's in the correct layer. So that properties button is very useful. The other thing I'm noticing is that this is a 5-place dimension or 4-place dimension, and that's way too close of a tolerance. My title block has the tolerances for different numbers of decimal places, and a 4-place decimal is plus or minus a 1/2 thousandth of an inch. So I don't want this part to be super outrageously expensive because that feature is not needed to be that accurate. So I want to make it a 2-place dimension. Well, the dimension style is set to place all these dimensions at 4-place dimensions. I don't want to change it every single time that I place a dimension. So I want to change this one just because it's already there. I'm going to select it, and again right click properties, and I want to find where it says decimal places, and there's a lot of data on here, so you have to kind of scroll through, and somewhere down here it tells me dim scale, dim units, primary units is in there somewhere. Precision. So I can change that to a 2-place dimension. That seems plus or minus 20 thousandths seems plenty good. So like I said, I don't want to change that every single time. So I'm going to type in a command. You can click commands by hitting the buttons on the tabs up here, or on the command line, which is right here. I can just type a command. I know it's called dim scale. And dim scale is on a button up here somewhere, but I'm too lazy to find it. So I'm just going to type in dim scale. Or not dim scale, I'm going to type in dim style. Dim style is the command I'm looking for. And here's my standard dimension style. And I normally don't want to change this because this is driven by the template, but I just want to show you where it's at. And you can make this one change, don't change anything else. Standard, modify, and I'm going to change this precision to 2 places. Say OK. So now the dimension style for this particular drawing is set to 2 decimal places, so the rest of my place on here should be all 2-place dimensions. And so that's the depth of the part. Here's the height of the part. And I need a width of the part, maybe here. And I'm going to use my wheel and zoom in and put some more dimensions on here. I want to dimension everything from this left edge. I don't want to have a bunch of, do that the other way. I don't want to have a bunch of tolerance stack-ups. I want to dimension these features from this right edge. So I'm just right-clicking when I'm done with a command to get the repeat command pop up. So that's that edge, that edge. I need one more for the center of the circle. So I need to go from here to here and place that here, and this is getting pretty crowded here, so I'm going to go in here and move these down So I'm going to click and let go, click, and I've got all these grips. I guess I'll do one at a time maybe. I'll select this one, grab the grip, make sure my ortho button is turned on. Grab that grip, I just want to bring this straight down. And I want to grab this one and pull him straight down. Grab this one. Oh, this one's screwed up. Look at that. It's at some kind of weird angle. Let's try that one again. I want to go up here and pull down and go linear, left edge. I guessed I wanted a straight line dimension, which I didn't. Right click, escape to get out of the command. There we go. That looks better. So I got those dimensions. Maybe I'll come over here and put some dimensions going this way. Go back to dimension. I'll go here. Again, I want to base all dimensions, all my dimensions off that bottom common corner. So there's one. Still under dimension commands. I want to go here to here. Space these out nicely. From here to here. Looking pretty nice. And then I've already got my 2.5 over here. Although, yeah, that's good. Alright, so now maybe I'll come over to the top view here, and I want to use the back edge as a common edge, and I want a dimension from here to here. And I could have done that dimension over here. Right click, repeat. This dimension here is the same as the one I just put on that other view. So which one you use is fine, but you don't want two of them. If you have two of them, one of them has to be a reference dimension. So I think I want to make this one reference and let this one drive the machine shop. You don't want to have duplicate dimensions. So to make it a reference dimension, we're going to put parentheses around it. So I'm going to select the dimension, right-click, Properties, and go find the text of the dimension. And somewhere in here it says text override. If I type in forward bracket, in bracket, that just tells SolidWorks or AutoCAD, just put the number that's there. And I want to put a set of parentheses around that. Open parentheses, close parentheses. And what you'll see is it left the dimension, so that number is driven by the dimension. I'll show you if I move this grip down to over here, the number changes because it's telling you the dimension between those 2 points. And so that bracket, I guess it's shift, comma, shift, period, that tells you just for AutoCAD to get the number from the data of the CAD model, and then the parentheses around it makes it a reference dimension. Alright, I also need this dimension right here is really 2 places. It's this edge and this edge. And so this edge could be further out or closer back, but to make it clear that these are lined up together, I'm going to select this dimension, right-click Properties, and do the same kind of a thing. Come down here to the Text option, and on Text Override, I'm going to type in 2x for 2 different places, 2 times, space, open and close bracket. And now that dimension has that little 2x in front of it. That tells me that the dimension from the back edge to here is 2.5, and the distance from here to here is also 2.5. Alright, I need some dimensions going horizontally so I could tell where this step is. And I will go to dimension and dimension here to here. And maybe I'll start on the other side so that the dimension kicks off to the side over here. So there's one. And right click, repeat dimension here to here. That looks good. Right click, enter, and then that overall width is taken care of by the dimension down here at the bottom. So this was our assignment 6 model, so I want to save as, and I'm going to put it in my assignment 7 folder. So that's going to go up. There's AO7, and I'm going to change the name to AO7. And you should do the same thing so you keep your assignment 6 like it is. Alright, so maybe now I need to put a dimension on this hole. I'm going to pull this down and go find a diameter dimension, select the circle, place the dimension, right click or hit escape to get out of the command. If I got all the dimensions, well, you tell me. We're going to review this in class and I'll show you how to check that, but that's pretty close. We'll call that good for now. If I'm missing some, point them out to me in class. Okay, so I'm going to save this thing. I want to save often so I don't lose what I've got. So now let's talk about completing the title block. The way the template works is this title block here is not lines and text. It is a block, and it's what's called an attributed block. So don't double click on this title block and expect to be able to edit these fields because it'll muck up the template. And so the way to get into that title block to edit these fields, it's we're going to edit the attributes of a block, and we'll learn about blocks next assignment. But for now, we're just going to type in DDA. This is on the command line. DDA TTE. There's the command, and it just says select the block. And what it does, it comes up with this nice pop-up window. And all of these entries are all entries in this title block. So you're going to go one by one and change these things. And when you get to the bottom, you're going to go next and go to page 2. Some of these stuff we'll leave blank. Most of them will fill out. And so, I don't know why this got a 62 in there. So I'm going to drawing number. It's going to be M00-07. And this is assignment 1. Title. So the description goes right here. We're going to have a rule in the class that you use a specific nomenclature to assign your descriptions for your parts. And the way you do it is the opposite of the way you speak. And so this is I've decided this is a vice support block for a rocket launcher. And so I'm not going to type in rocket launcher vice support block. I'm going to put the first word is going to be the most general term of the title of the part. I'm going to turn on my capital lock because all this is all capital letters all the time. So the first most general word is going to be block. So I'm going to start with block, comma, space, vice support. If I can spell. Comma, space, and I'll drop it down to the next line here. Block, comma, space, vice support, comma, space, rocket. So it's backwards the way you would speak it in English, but you want to do it this way so that all your blocks sort together, all your vice support blocks sort together, and then the last term will be the last piece of the nomenclature that identifies a specific part. So don't use that one or you'll lose 5 points. Come up with your own name, and that'll be the case in all the assignments. The revisions, we start off at X0. This is before we release anything to be manufactured or purchased. You can change these revisions over time. So if I'm come in and somebody wants a copy of your drawing, preliminary copy of your drawing, you print out a copy at X0 and you immediately change the revision to X1. So that if somebody else comes back 3 hours later and they want a copy of the drawing, you've changed it, print out a copy then, it's going to be an X1, then X2, and then X3, and that way you can keep track. If somebody comes back and says, hey, this drawing doesn't match, we both got the same drawing, and we got different dimensions, different features, you'll be able to say, well, one of them's X0, one of them's X1. They're different revisions. Until you release it, you use these X revisions. The first time you release a print for manufacturing, and it's approved and signed off, it's called a dash rev, or a no change rev, and that's how you're going to submit your drawings to me when you're ready to grade them. When I see the dash on there, I know you've approved it and you're submitting it to me for approval. That's the thing. That's the thing. Last sheet number will change if we got multiple sheets, but we'll leave it at 1 now. Drafter, we're going to use this format. First initial, period, space, last name. So I'm the drafter, so m.space Summers. Use that same format. That's the way our company's going to do it, and this class is all going to do it the same way. Same thing with the dates. DD, 2 numbers for the day, 3 letters for the month, 4 for the year. So this is 13 July 2020. If you don't use that format, you'll lose those points. Checker, come up with an interesting checker. I think Thomas Jefferson is available to check my drawing, and he's going to check it today. Or he already checked it today when he came by. I'll be the engineer on all of your assignments, so I'm the engineer. Go ahead and put a date on here. the day you want me to look at it and sign off on it. File name, you're going to give the file name of your assignment, so I'm not going to change all these. Material, we're going to talk about. Finish, we're going to talk about. And the rest of these you can leave blank. So when you say OK, this thing updates. All right, that's cool. All right, so you can figure out the rest of those. The revision history, you're going to fill this out. This is dumb text here. This is not an attributed block. So you can just double click this text and change it accordingly. That's going to be a dash. Now click off of it to get out of that. Double click this. When you release it, it's going to be called an initial release, all capital. And then use the same date format, your same drafter, you're the drafter, your name, and then verified is going to be, for me, T. Jefferson. For you, whoever verified it in the title block will go up here. If you do red lines, you'll release it, you'll make the updates and release it as a AREV. All right, and you'll copy this down, and I'll show you how to do that when you do revisions. All right, now let's talk about the material callouts. Every student's going to have a unique material and a unique finish for their part. And we're not going to call out material as aluminum or steel. We're going to call out specific alloys, so you get used to specifying your part material and your part finish just like you would in the real world. And so in my case, my material is assigned as 17.4 precipitation hardened stainless steel. This is more dumb text, so I'm going to double click over here, and I'm going to go after material. I'm going to type in 17.4 pH stainless steel. Whoops, I got to get all caps here. I don't want to lose points. What's going on with my caps lock? 17.4 pH stainless steel per, and I need to come up with a specification that defines what that material is. I don't want them to buy some cheap stuff from somebody that doesn't follow industry standards. So I'm going to come over here and type in 17.4 pH stainless steel. So this is not your material, but you're going to do a similar kind of thing. And I've got some of these things. You can click on these things. This one I'm familiar with. AK Steel's got good stuff. And we're going to try to find a specification to use. And these guys have a great data sheet. They have a great website. I'm sure they got great material. And if I look long and hard enough on here, I see down here I've got some specifications. And so there's AMS 5604, sheet, strip, and plate, ASTM A6. Now, this is what I want. Now, I got plate. I'm going to use a nice big thick plate. And so I'm going to make it per ASTM A693. So I'm going to type in per ASTM. Why does this thing keep dropping off? ASTM A693. All right. So we're not going to learn what all these specifications mean, but I want you to get used to doing this so that you're familiar with it when you start your new job. All right, finish for stainless steel. I know that passivation is what we're going to need. So I'm going to back up on this, and I want to type in passivation specification. And boom, look at that. ASTM A967. That looks like a good passivation spec. So I'm going to come down here and type in passivate per ASTM. What's going on here? ASTM A967. All right, and then I just click off of it. Now those notes are all there. All right, so this is looking pretty good. So most of the stuff I finished here. Check and make sure I'm not missing any dimensions. And if I did, we can correct those in class. So that'll wind this session up. We've learned how to put dimensions on drawings. We've learned how to change a couple of the dimension style parameters. We know about properties. We know how to edit the attributes of a block. In that title block, we can change that, and we can edit the text on the notes and the revision history. So hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.